Hello everyone. We, Dr. Delna Goghavalla and Dr. Kashmira Goghavalla, physiotherapist, welcome you all to the short introductory lecture on stress incontinence and pelvic floor muscle weakness. Stress incontinence and pelvic floor muscle, these sound a little new to everyone, and hence we have had many queries as to what is this, am I suffering from this problem, do I need this workshop, etc. And hence we decided to take this short introductory lecture on making people understand about this topic, which sounds very new but is a very common problem and is present in more than 70% of the population. So we will see today what is exactly pelvic floor muscle and what do you mean by weakness of pelvic floor muscle and how it causes stress incontinence. Pelvic floor muscle is like any other muscle in your body, like how you have your biceps, your triceps or any other shoulder muscles, etc. Similarly, you have the pelvic floor muscles also. These muscles are not spoken about much, neither are they ever exercised. Hence, these muscles tend to become weak much more commonly than the other muscles of the body. And in contrast, these muscles play a very important and a very crucial role in the body. Unlike the other muscles, it is much more important than any other muscle in the body, since this muscle has a very important role to play, and we'll be explaining you all how and what is this role of the muscle. So first, to just show you all where these pelvic floor muscles actually exist and what is their function. This is the skeletal system of our body. If you see, from the head backwards, your spine runs through you and then it ends into a small triangular shaped bone which is called as the sacrum, which is just above the tailbone, through to which your pelvic bones, means these bones, your pelvic waist region, the bones which form the waist region, they attach and they form a pelvic ring. So the ring, which is formed over here by these two pelvic bones at the side and the sacrum behind, has an opening below down. Okay, so there is no bone here in this much area where the ring is opening. The floor of the ring has no bony support. This floor of the ring is entirely supported by the muscles, and these are your pelvic floor muscles. There are many muscles which are present in the pelvic floor, but in a group we call them as pelvic floor muscles, and they form the base of this pelvic ring. Okay, now the pelvis is the bony ring in which there are many vital organs. Your bladder, the uterus, they are all present in the pelvic ring. So this cavity has got all these important organs, and these organs are supported. They do not have any bony support and they are entirely supported on this muscular base of the pelvic floor muscles. Hence, these muscles play this extremely important function, unlike any other muscles in the body, of supporting the visceral organs, that means the internal organs of our body. Hence, the entire weight goes on these pelvic floor muscles. So, it is extremely important that these muscles remain strong for the functioning of the organs as well, which are being supported by these muscles. So, the well-being of these muscles is very important, but we hardly ever hear about them and we hardly ever exercise them. Now, what happens when in normal life, these muscles over the period of time, like with aging, as all our other muscles of the body age and become weak, these muscles also become weak because of aging. As you age, these muscles tend to become slowly weaker, though we do not realize them because their function is not very evident. Though they are playing a very important function, but the function is not very evident. Hence, their weakness is never realized by us, but they get weak with age. So most of the elderly people above the age of 40, these muscles tend to lose their strength and they need to be worked upon and strengthened so that the consequences of their weakness do not happen. The second most common reason when these muscles get affected is during delivery. During delivery, the fetus, the baby, passes through the pelvic passage. And when the baby passes through the pelvic passage, at that time there is a lot of stress and strain which these muscles have to undergo. And this leads to their weakness. Also, the weight of the uterus, which is there with the baby, is entirely on these muscles and causes their weakness. The other reason of the weakness is obesity. When your body weight is too much, more weight is going through these muscles, they go weak because of the strain that is put on them. Chronic constipation and cough. When there is chronic cough, when you cough, the abdominal pressure increases and that puts a pressure on these muscles. And when there is constant coughing or constant straining for passing stools during constipation, at that time also these muscles undergo constant strain and hence they develop weakness. Post surgeries. Whenever there is any surgery which is done through the pelvic region, at that time these muscles tend to become weak. Now when these muscles become weak, they do not support the organs, that is the bladder, which is in the pelvic bone, in the pelvic ring. And because of that, what happens is whenever you undergo any stressful activity, now stressful activity does not mean an extremely stressful activity that you are lifting something very, very heavy. That's not the only stressful activity. But even a cough or a sneeze, which increases your intra-abdominal pressure, that pressure goes on the bladder. And the bladder, which is initially well supported by the pelvic floor muscles, does not cause any leakage of the urine. But when your pelvic floor muscles are weak and when you do any stressful activity, like you lifted something or you coughed or you sneezed or you laughed loudly, at that time, because of increase in abdominal pressure on the bladder, which is not very well supported now because of the weak pelvic floor muscles, leaks few drops of urine. This is called as stress incontinence. Stress incontinence happens at a later stage when the muscles are very weak. But even if the stress incontinence is not happening, still because of age, post-delivery, these muscles do tend to become weak. And like any other muscle in your body which requires exercise, this muscle also requires exercise. And the good part of it is that these muscles recover very, very quickly with exercises and they react well to the exercises because they are never exercised individually. So when we focus on them and when we exercise them, these muscles strengthen very well. And this problem can be prevented as well as treated. So we are going to learn a lot more about these muscles and the various exercises to activate these muscles and to strengthen them in this workshop. So do join in and hope to see you all. Thank you.